During the beginning of July, hoyoverse released the 3.8 update for Genshin, which released the usual banners, events, and content for the RPG side of the game. But they also released a new mechanic for the TCG that shook up the meta in a unique way, the Arcane Legends mechanic. In this video, we will be overviewing how the mechanic works, along with the 3 Arcane cards as of 4.0 that are involved in this mechanic, as well as their use cases, which include the 2 debut Arcane Legends cards from 3.8 and the new Joyous Celebration. Arcane Legend cards are cards that will automatically show up in your first mulligan at the start of the match with strong effects that outclass most other action cards, but there are 3 caveats to their use. The first is that each player is limited to using only 1 Arcane Legend card per game, and that is indicated through the little arcane dice next to each player's name. Once a player has used an Arcane card, a cool little animation will pop up, and then your Arcane dice will disappear. The second caveat is that each individual Arcane Legend card has a unique requirement that must be met before it is played, and those requirements will be listed for each card showcase. And finally, you cannot have more than 1 identical Arcane Legend card in your deck. So while you can't have 2 Covenant of Rocks in the same deck, you can have 1 Ancient Courtyard and 1 Covenant of Rock in one deck, although it is really recommended that you only run 1 Arcane Legend card in your deck. By analyzing how the mechanic works, we can draw some conclusions. Because it's always in your first 5 cards every game, unless you toss it away, it is recommended you only play 1 Arcane Legend card and have the rest be normal action cards. Having your Arcane Legend card guaranteed in your mulligan makes your starting hand less flexible and can make your plays more telegraphed. When playing competitively, you can read which Arcane card your opponent is going to use based off their deck and play around it, and in tournaments with open decklist, since your opponent can see which Arcane card you run, you can use it as a bluff or a threat that your opponent may play around even if you toss it back during your mulligan. However, due to the requirements that these Arcane cards need to meet before being played, some decks may not get the maximum value from these Arcane Legend cards and may not run them entirely. So, how will you know which decks to run with these mystical cards? Starting with Ancient Courtyard, if you already have a character equipped with an artifact or weapon, the next weapon or artifact played will cost 2 less elemental dice. Because of the requirements and effect of this card, the card is best used in stall decks, which typically like to fully equip a specific character, like in Zhongli or Ito decks. This makes it so you can equip your carries faster and with less strict dice requirements, freeing up dice for other uses. Next is Covenant of Rock, where if you have no dice remaining during the round, you may use this card to gain an additional 2 random dice. While it is only an additional 2 dice, it still gives the user a bunch of flexibility for the round it is played in. You can use it to swap and use food, you can use it as ramp to feed Liven or Varanara, play Parametric Transformer, or add on a Woven or NSC after using it for surprise attack. Essentially, the card gives you many options to work with. Synergy-wise though, Klee and Ito stand out the most. Their charge attacks can effectively take advantage of Covenant due to being able to attack with only 2 dice, but its general use is still amazing in any other deck. Finally, our most recent addition, Joyous Celebration, requiring not only the Arcane dice, but you'll also need 1 elemental dice, and your active character must be a Cryo, Hydro, Pyro, Electro, or Dendro character. Once these 3 requirements are met, an elemental aura will be applied to all your characters based on the active character's elemental type. At first glance, you may think this card is a massive hindrance to your characters, as it gives your opponents more opportunities for elemental reactions. But when played correctly, it can prevent elemental reactions by cleansing the aura your characters had. Although it can prevent some damage by cleansing units, it overall feels pretty clunky to play with, as you can substitute it with food to negate damage, while also running more effective Arcane Legend cards. Despite still being very niche, it still has some interesting use cases. Perhaps the best use of this card would be in mono carry decks like Ganyu Freeze. In these decks, avoiding aura on the main carry is an important step in winning the game, especially against decks like Pyro Coaching. In this scenario, if Ganyu is applied with Pyro after she becomes the active character, Coaching can jump in with Stiletto and not only deal massive damage, but also forcing Ganyu to swap off, greatly reducing her pressure. With Joyous Celebration, however, this is no longer an issue, as Ganyu will be cleansed of her aura before going on field. Another niche use case for Joyous Celebration would be against swirl decks. These decks require a character like Mona or Shenhe to apply an element before an animal unit comes into swirl. With Joyous Celebration, you can force the swirl player to reapply aura, which delays their game plan, allowing you to take the lead. Hopefully, after this video, you'll be able to effectively use the knowledge you learned from this video and apply it to your own strategies or to read your opponent's next move. But if you still have questions about these mechanics, or any general tips surrounding the TCG, you can always explore all of the resources that GITCG provides, such as a Discord server, deck guides partnered with KQM, YouTube guides like the one you're watching right now, and more. That's it for now. We'll see you next time.